Welcome to Movie Making. I'm your host, Ranelle Golden. Hey everybody, I am here with Steve Marshall, magician. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am really good. It's so cool to talk to you whenever I get to. I think we have a decade rule. I talk to you every decade or something.
It seems about it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Where are you
Sounds
in the
about right.
world right now?
Right now, I am at Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan,
Oh, wow.
getting ready to catch a flight to Thailand in the morning. Well, it is the morning. It's 4 o'clock. It's just after 4 a.m. here right now.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah,
That's kind of cool. So you're sleeping in yet another airport? No, you're not. You're awake. You're talking to me.
I'm awake. I don't, it's funny. I don't sleep. When I get to airports, airports are good places for me to be productive and work on things. Like last time I was here, I edited a video that I've been meaning to do for a long time
Oh,
because
wow.
it's a place where there's nothing else to do. There's no
And
distractions,
you're
and
kind
I
of
can
like
just sit down
alone
and
in a
work on stuff.
crowd. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When my kids were little, I would go to Chuck E. Cheese to write my screenplays.
Yeah.
I know that's
Fun.
weird, but I felt
No,
very independent there.
I totally get that. That's
You
great. That's
do?
so funny. Yes.
It
Yes.
was the best, man. I'd get like 3, 4 scenes written while they're playing. So
That's
I
funny.
thought you'd
Yeah.
appreciate that of all people.
That's
Um,
that's great.
Yeah. So, I don't know all of the answers to these questions I'm going to ask you. So this is going to kind of be fun. But um, how old were you when you decided you wanted to be a magician? Like, do you
Mhm.
remember?
It's funny. I can really say I when I was 8 years old,
Oh, wow.
I
And
knew what
why?
I wanted to do. Well,
Okay.
I got a magic kit for Christmas when I was 8 years old, and when I was a kid, when I was little, I was I was overweight. I was the kid that got bullied. I was the kid that got picked on in school, and I didn't really like going to school. I didn't like
Aw.
all that. So I, I saw this magic kit advertised on TV one year, and I asked for it for Christmas, and I got it. And when I started doing that, it became something. It started out kind of as a social crutch in a way that I could do something the other kids couldn't. And when I was
Ah,
doing magic tricks, they weren't picking on me anymore. They weren't bullying me
they
because
were
they were amazed by
fascinated by you.
by the stuff I was doing. Yeah. So it started out really because of that. And it really, broke me out of my shell and helped me to not be so shy. And then it just became this thing that I loved and this passion that I just wanted to keep practicing it. And I would, spend hours in my room just practicing magic tricks all the
Oh,
time. I had my
wow.
room. I actually had like my room set up like a little stage. So I had a little performing area that I could
I
practice
love
my
that.
shows in.
You
Yeah.
are truly magic dude or something. Wasn't that your
Yeah. Yeah.
nickname for years?
No, well, that was my behind the times AOL account.
Oh my
AOL.com
God.
is
Yeah.
Magi dude. Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, how do you say that? But
I know.
so when I met you in high school, that's how old we aren't. Um,
Yep.
so when you got out of high school, what made you decide, okay, this is it, this is going to be my career? Had you already decided in high school?
Yeah, I did. And I'm going to back up 1 second. I don't want to
Okay.
gloss over this. The fact that we met in chorus and that I asked you to be my assistant in my show.
I was scared. I was good with that until you wanted to cut my head off, and I'm like, that kind of scared me. I'm like, what?
Is that when I got that thing, that guillotine?
Yes,
Didn't
and
I
that
have that?
legit scared me. I ran. I'm like, no, I kind of
Oh,
want to
that's
die.
so funny. That's so funny. I was the only kid in school with a guillotine.
That
The thing
had a
was 100%.
guillotine in his
That thing,
garage or something. Yeah.
thing was like perfectly safe. It was 100% safe. But it was, yeah,
Are you
it was pretty
sure?
imposing. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah, there
sure.
was a lot of blood in that room when I went. No, I'm just kidding.
Shoot, I didn't
Oh
clean
my
it up.
goodness. Well, okay, so you got out of high school and you have
Yes.
never looked back as far as doing magic for your life. Um, but what point did it hit you? This is it. This is my life's journey where it was going to be okay and you were going to do it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be a singer and
Uh-huh.
I that's all I did, but at the same time I had to pay rent and do all these things. And I ended up, going to college for my fallback. And regrettably, I still regret it. I left the singing in exchange for the security. And I know you know
Right.
what I mean. Um, so how did you make that decision and make that leap?
Well, for me, when I was in high school, I was already doing shows in high school. I was actually,
A
by the
lot.
time I was, yeah, by the time I was, I mean, I started out doing like kids' birthday parties around town. And then I don't know if you knew this, but, well, of course you knew that Zephyr Hills, where we lived, is a senior citizens,
Yeah. It's the
community.
capital of Florida. Oh, wait, no, that was back then.
Right. Well, yeah. And, the population would like quadruple in the wintertime. All those
Yeah.
mobile home parks would fill up.
Oh, yeah.
And so word got around to these mobile home parks that there was a kid in town that did magic in high school. And they didn't know, all they knew was there was a kid in high school that did magic and he would do shows at these events. So they would call the high school during the day,
Oh,
and the student secretaries would take messages
for you?
and yes, and they would bring them to class, and they'd say, Steve Marshall has a message. I get this. So I actually found one. I was at my parents' house and I actually found a real one of these messages
Oh my God, that's so
that I
cool.
kept.
You
Yeah.
kept it?
And I did. And so,
Wow.
but what would happen was they'd give me the message. The teacher would excuse me because they say I had to be excused to make a phone call. I'd look at it, I know what it was. I'd go to the payphone out in front of the school. I would book the show. I'd call the person, book the show, and then go back to class. So I had my own booking agency running out of the office
Oh my
at
God.
Zephyr Hills High School. Yeah.
That is so cool. I didn't even know that. We've got to write a movie about that. That
Oh, I
is
know.
really cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, I was already making money back then doing shows. And that's when I met this guy. There was a magic club in Auburndale, Florida that I started going to. And I
Yeah.
met a lot of professional magicians. And I met this guy named Corky the Clown. Corky, Grant Dozier's his real
Oh,
name.
cute.
And he
Okay.
had, and he taught me how about clowning. He taught this Red Cross youth clown troupe thing. So I
Hmm.
joined that. And then he encouraged me to go put my application into Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College, which I did. And
Wow.
then I got accepted. And then, by the time I was still 18, I just graduated high school, went to clown college, and then was on the road with Ringling while I was still 18.
It's funny. You're
So
like one of the coolest people I know, but you were a clown. You were cool because you were a clown. Like you did magic. Yeah, it's a cool story. So you're on the road with the circus. How many years did you do that?
4 years in the States. And then after I left the show in the States, they had an event at Disneyland in California called Circus Fantasy, where they made a circus and all of Disney was a circus. And
Oh, wow.
Ringling provided all the acts and the clowns and stuff. And then after that was done, I got offered the contract to go with Ringling on their first tour of Japan. So I went.
Oh,
So I was
neat.
5 years altogether with Ringling. And
Wow.
that's another thing. I took you to the circus.
Oh,
We
you
went
took
to
me
the
to my
circus
first
together.
circus. Your dad drove.
Ah,
I do remember
that's
that.
right. That's right. My
I have a
dad did
lot of
drive
good
us there.
memories, and you're in so many of them. It's
I
so
know. I
funny.
know. I got a
Wow.
great picture of us too, like with holding a poster up in front of my mom and
Yes.
dad's old Buick.
Oh my God. I love that picture. It's so funny. Both my kids have seen it and they're like, who are you talking to? Oh, it's so funny. So, okay. And now,
Yeah.
at what point did your career jump to the next level? Because you have performed for presidents and I don't know, just so many amazing people that you've got to work your butt off to get to that point. So, when did you start realizing, wow, I'm next level? Or did you ever? Or are you still trying to figure that out?
It's weird. My life is just kind of I feel like I've never made any major decisions. Like I feel like my life is just when something's ready to end, something else comes up and
It just
takes its
flowed.
place. Yeah. And what you said something earlier about, a lot of people say, well, you went to college to have something to fall back on,
Yeah,
right?
I
I
regret it
never had
too.
I never had anything to fall back on. I went to Ringling Brothers Clown College, you
Yeah.
know, and that's all I did. And I went with the circus. And, whenever all my friends were in college and university, those were the years I was traveling on the circus from like 18 to 22 years old.
Wow.
And so, yeah, but I never had anything to fall back on.
Do you think that's
So
something that added to your success? Because you didn't have a choice. You had to make this work.
yeah, it's what I loved. I loved doing it.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's all I ever wanted to do. My work is my hobby, is my passion, and everything, so it's just kind of, I don't know. It's funny. I don't know what a day off is. Like, I don't know what that.
I do understand that. And I get yelled at a lot for it from my family members because I love writing and storytelling as much, almost as much or different than I loved singing. And so anytime I'm missing, it's because I'm buried in creating a story. And I'm sure you understand that because you probably have like a new magic trick you're thinking of, or a new way to do something on stage, or it's just always creating. It's like your life's purpose.
Right. And it's like, and everything falls into that, I mean, if I'm on quote unquote vacation. Well, another thing is, I worked for Disney for 6 years in the Disney theme parks, and I worked at Universal for a long time, and I was with the circus. So for me, when I had kids and we were like going, oh, let's go to Disney, it's like, okay, we're going to go to work now. It's kind of like, I mean, I still loved it, and I still loved hanging out with my kids and watching, seeing it through eyes. We had a great time.
Yeah.
But it's so weird for me to go to, number one, to think about, I don't mind paying for things, but when I think about paying to go to a theme park or a circus, it just feels weird to me. It's like, why am I paying to see this?
Yeah. And also you're there and not performing. What?
And that is a little, it's like that Pavlovian response. The music starts up and you start going, I got to get out there. I'm supposed to be doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm missing my cue or something. Right. So,
hey, that happened, my wedding. I kid you not.
No.
My best man was my performing partner at Disney. And we walked down the aisle first. We get up on stage. We get up in front of everybody. We turn around. I'm in a tuxedo, and I'm looking at an audience. I'm looking at a room full of people, and everything inside of me said, perform, perform, perform.
Did you do a trick?
No, of course not. My brain said, do not, do not, do not.
I would have been I would have been supportive, like whip out a card trick and everyone would laugh, and then you get married or something.
Yeah. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but I held it together.
That's a great story though.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is one of your all-time favorite shows or performances you've ever done? Do you have one that like you relive in your head all the time?
Oh man, that's hard. Probably probably the time that I was invited over to China to do a TV show that was broadcast. They told me it was broadcast to an estimated 100 million people.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was on their biggest network, right?
Wow.
So we're in the TV studio was the biggest studio in China. So just the live audience was 2,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And then broadcast to 100 million. And the producer told me that I had to pick this one kid to come up and help me. And it was a kid that I normally wouldn't pick up to come, a little too young. But it was the producer's niece. So there was I tried to fight it, but there was no getting around it. It was like, you're going to use that kid.
Oh my God.
And halfway through my routine, she left the stage.
What?
And she was like 5.
Oh,
right?
Man,
she was fine. Yeah, she was fine. But because I said, take me out to the audience, let me meet her before the show. So she's not just scared if I bring her up. She was great. But she just thought the routine was over. So she went back. Another kid came up just out of the blue. So I started doing that kid went back. Another kid came up.
What?
And at the end of the routine, I made the kid a balloon. And I handed it to this kid, and he walks off the stage. And then I see kids start standing up in the audience. And 30 kids came up on stage. 30 kids were standing on stage with me, all wanting a balloon.
What did you do?
Actually, I didn't. I'm goofing around here. I'm trying to keep going. I don't speak any Chinese, so I couldn't do anything verbal.
Did you make 30 balloons?
No. Well, the MC came out, and finally, one of the MCs who spoke English came out, stopped the show, and I said, they all want a balloon, right? And he goes, yeah. He goes, what are you going to do? So I had an idea, and I made a balloon. There's this thing where you make those long animal balloons. You put it
Yeah,
on.
I remember
You,
you made them when I knew you. Well, I still know you.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so anyway, so I blew one up, and I put, you can, if you push your finger up into it and then let it go, it shoots off your finger like an arrow, right?
Oh,
So I
cool.
stuck it on my finger. I got all 30 kids around me. I let it go, and they all chased that balloon out in the audience. And then I went on with my show. And and I was
Wow.
supposed to have 10 minutes in the show, but they let me keep going. They didn't edit it. I wound up having 18 minutes on this
Oh,
show,
that's
on this
so
hour show,
cool.
which was great. Yeah. So then they also invited me back the next year. And when I got back the next year, the producer came up to me. He goes, "Oh, Steve, what do you have planned for us this year?" I said, "I didn't have that planned last year."
Oh no, they expected a repeat.
They were expecting like magic again. I didn't bring anybody up on stage the second year.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're like, I'm not going through that again. That
Yeah.
sounds kind of
It,
stressful, but you
it,
rolled with it. It sounded like it was
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
true.
I like it. I like it when stuff happens because your brain just starts going. I mean, now I'm actually asked to be a judge for magic competitions, magic
Oh
clubs in Japan. They have
wow.
competitions,
Yeah.
and afterwards we get to give feedback to the kids that performed. And the first thing I always say, because somebody always does it, a couple of them always do it, I'll go to a board if there's a whiteboard or something, and I'll write on there in huge letters, "Don't stop." Because
Oh,
I said, that's the first thing. And this is for everybody, because a couple of you did that. And I said, you stopped and then you reset and you did it good, but you stopped. And I said,
right.
the minute you stopped, you lost. I said,
Yeah,
if you
you've
would
got
have
to
kept
flow.
going, you know, and then
Yeah.
I tell him, I said, when you're practicing a trick, practice what can go wrong. Think of 3 ways it can go wrong and come up with a way to fix that. So when it does happen, and it will happen if you do it enough times,
Right.
then you can go with it. You've planned, you've rehearsed what can go wrong. And it's anyway.
Yeah. Wow.
So
So this is a good segue because you were working with kids and then young performers or new performers. What
mhm.
what advice maybe do you have for somebody that would want to go into this field and become a magician? Because it's not that common, it's not uncommon, but you guys are a unique breed. You're not on every corner like an actor or something. What would you tell somebody who maybe wanted to do this?
I tell him to stop.
Oh,
No,
God. Don't be so honest, dude. It
I'm
just,
kidding. I'm kidding. No, you know what? I'd say I hear that all the time. I say go for it, but
yeah,
I also say, well, my daughter, she wanted to go into acting.
right,
She when she was little, she came to me and she wanted to I want to be an actress. And
right.
the advice I gave her, I said, that's great. If you're going to go into acting, you need study everything about acting you can think about. You study acting, but then
Okay.
study directing, producing, writing,
Right,
study lights, study
right.
sound, study stagecraft. Think of everything, because most people, they want to be an actor, so they become an actor, and then
They don't know
they
what's
go to
going on around them.
they go into an audition. They're one of 1,000 people that
Oh,
might
yeah,
get this part. You know what I mean? It's the
yeah,
odds are, but the more you know about it, the more you can create your own stuff. And yes, and know what's going on when you're out there. You know what to look at. You know how to think.
yeah.
Um, so that's what I always tell people. I just say, study everything, and
Everything.
just keep doing it.
Yeah,
And perform all the time.
yeah.
If you're going to do something.
I think
So
that's good advice. And as a director, the first time I ended up directing about, I don't know, maybe 15 years now, 14 years ago, I fell into it because the director I hired, he didn't show up. And my DP was like, you know what? You're going to do it. You're the one that knows this story. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And that was the first time because he was like, you know the story, you know what you want, you do it. And he put me on a monitor, and that was my introduction to it. But after that, I realized I need to understand everything. And,
right.
the lighting, the sound, this and that. And I started taking courses and, you know, taking it very seriously. So short of holding a camera, because I have issues with my eyes, I have done most of the jobs on the set. Not well, but I've done it and I know what they're doing and I appreciate it. I respect
Right.
it. And it's just so important. But okay, here's another cute question. I was just wondering, what one trick do you think every magician should have in their wheelhouse in case they're in the crowd and somebody says, "Show me a magic trick"? Do you think there's one?
You're gonna laugh at this. The trick that I get so much mileage out of that, if somebody says do a trick, I
Yeah.
started doing it as a joke, but I was surprised. You know that trick where it looks like you pull your finger off? Like everybody
Yes.
knows that from elementary school. So
Yes.
when somebody would say do a trick, I do that, and then I go, well, you didn't say do a good trick, you just said do a trick. But
Oh
what I
my
found
God.
out was when I did that, people would go, I would get these responses from adults and stuff.
Are
They'd
you
never seen it.
serious?
So
From
yeah.
adults? Oh my God.
So I mean, it's just if you catch somebody by surprise, they don't. And so
It's
if
also
they're not
humor.
expecting
I
anything's
love
great.
it.
Yeah. I think for me, the best thing is in that situation is a trick with money, a coin trick.
Pull a
Make
coin
a
out of
coin
your ear or
disappear. Yeah,
something.
make it disappear and pull it out of your ear. I do a lot of
Yeah.
different things with coins. I can do stuff with 4 coins where they jump from one hand to the other or things like that. And,
Oh, that's cool.
so I think that's a good thing to
I remember
practice
you're really
stuff with
good
everyday
at
objects.
sleight of hand tricks and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's important. It's like, that's goes back to learning everything. So I mean, I call myself a comedy magician because I tell stories and
I love
that
it.
clown people come and see my show and I'm not wearing any clown makeup or anything denotes a clown, but
Right.
they would still say, "Oh, we see the clown." The
Oh,
way you move, the way you do this, because it's just so ingrained in me. So I do
right.
comedy, but I've also studied, I had when I was younger, my first teacher in magic was a very serious sleight of hand guy. So I learned all the techniques of sleight of hand. And, and so I've got this kind of disarming thing where people will say that they go, you're really being funny. And then all of a sudden you go, bam, and you punch us by doing some really cool trick.
Right,
And
right.
they said it's even more amazing because it catches us so off guard.
That's
Where
good.
if you see a guy in a tuxedo, hey, I'm a magician kind of guy, you
Yeah,
expect it more.
right,
But the goofy guy, you don't expect it.
right.
And
I love it.
so
It's so cool. Um, what was I was gonna ask you something funny, and then I was thinking about the goofy guy thing. Um, oh man, can I say brain fart on my own show?
sure, I don't care. Fart,
Okay.
fart, 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 fart.
I'm having a brain fart.
I'll say it
Oh my
more.
God. Because oh well,
Oh,
I've
well, that brings up something. So being a comedian and a dad and everything. So I'm like my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's
yes.
24 now. She was like 3 years old, right?
Aw,
And
okay.
when she was 3, I went, oh my gosh, I've never done the pull my finger gag with my daughter. I mean, like, what
Oh,
kind of a father am I, right?
right,
So
right,
we're in Japan. She grew up in Japan, and
right.
this is when I found out this was a universal thing. It doesn't matter. It's
It
worldwide.
really is. Yes.
I said, pull my finger. She pulled my finger. I farted, and she fell on the ground laughing so hard.
Oh my God, that's so
It was
awesome.
just brilliant,
Oh, I love
universal.
that. I love that. And that's one of the things I do love about having a son and daughter. They're so different. And with the daughter, you have your own bonding, but with the son, the fart jokes and that goofy humor, they laugh more. I enjoy that. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I with my kids, with my daughters, it was important for me. You know, we wanted them to be bilingual, so we spoke English a lot at the house, and then
good.
they went out in society and learned they're Japanese. They're truly bilingual. Their
That's
native
good.
language, both things.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
but also, what I realized was that even more than language, like I wanted them to understand my sense of humor.
Yes.
So when my kids were little, I would have them, we'd watch Charlie Chaplin, we'd watch the Marx Brothers, we'd watch all these old
Oh,
movies, Jerry
oh,
Lewis. So from a young age, you were watching all this stuff. I was making bad puns. We've spent way too much time in our lives figuring out ways to jump out from small spaces and scare
Oh
each
my
other.
gosh. I love it. I love it.
So,
Do
but I
either
mean, I taught them that being playfulness and things like that, which
I
now
love that.
now that they're older, we have that language too, which was so important to me.
I love that. And you guys can be free and silly, and I love that.
Mm.
Not enough people have that, and I'm guilty of that too. So that's a beautiful thing. So do either one of your daughters know magic? Any tricks?
They do. Yeah, yeah. They wanted to learn a little bit. My oldest daughter, when she was in elementary school, she came to me one time and she said, "Oh, Papa, I have a question. I don't want you to be upset, but we have a school function coming up." And I thought she was going to ask me to do a magic show. And she was
Yeah.
embarrassed. And I go, and I was ready to go, yeah. And she goes, "But I want to do the magic show."
Oh,
And I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." So I
yeah.
said, go in, I've got my office has all my magic props. And I said, go in there and pick whatever you want. And I'll show you how to use it.
I love
So
it.
she did that. She did it.
Aw.
And
Okay, that's
my
cool.
youngest daughter wanted to use. I taught her some coin tricks. So they both can do some magic tricks. They never really wanted to get into it.
Have they
And
seen you perform like a big theater type situation? Have they ever done
yeah,
that? Oh,
yeah.
that's
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, they grew up, watch me come and do this one place in Japan where I used to work, where I did my fire eating act. So they watched,
Oh,
they
that's
grew
what
up
I was going
seeing
to
me.
ask you about.
Yeah, doing
Yes.
my fire eating act, doing magic, they finally just recently, it's funny. There's a Japanese circus that's a big top, a tent circus that travels around Japan. It's the oldest circus in Japan.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine is the director of that show. And they have two American clowns in the show. And when if one of them had to go back to the States for a new visa or something like that, if something happened where one of them had to be out for a week,
Yeah.
I was one of the pinch hitter clowns. So every once in a while I get called to go in and do the
Oh,
show
how
for a
funny.
week.
Yeah.
And just a couple years ago, the show was in Yokohama, which is near Tokyo.
Right.
And my kids actually came to see the show with me in it as a clown. And after all both in their
Wow.
20s, and after all these years of hearing me telling circus stories, they
Now they
finally
know.
actually got to see me in my clown makeup in the ring in a circus. It was
Wow.
such a cool moment.
That
Yeah.
is cool. That is so cool. I wish we had more time, and I'm going to have to switch to my 5 for 5.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you some silly questions before our time is up here. But yeah, you know what? Just come back and talk anytime, because you're so fun to have on. Plus, I love hearing your story. I'm really just, I don't know if I'm allowed to say I'm like proud of you, but you, of all my friends, you followed your dreams and you live your dreams. And what a marvelous example. And you're probably like, stop telling me that, but I just think it's so cool. So
I told you when we talked the other night, I told you that Bob Dylan quote. Bob Dylan said, if a person wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night and in between does what they want to do, they're a success.
I love that.
I love that. It has nothing about money. It has not, I mean, that's all nice too. That's all a byproduct of what we do, but it's about doing what we do, doing what we love, and enjoying our lives.
Do you know, since you told me that, I have mentioned it to 3 people. So and that was just a day or 2, but
yeah, I know. Just last night, actually.
It was yesterday. Yeah. I don't know why, but it just resonated with me. And then I felt like they needed to hear it. So, but I do have to switch because we're about to get disconnected, whether we like it or not. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First question. What is your favorite food?
Pizza.
Pizza. Okay.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like fully loaded pizza or?
Anything. Cheese pizza, pepperoni pizza, pizza supreme. Not a big anchovy fan, but yeah.
Oh, you're the pizza guy. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to drink after a full day? I normally ask on set, but on stage.
Just seltzer water with some lemon or lime in it.
Yeah, you would not believe how many people do say water. I love that because it's healthy. It's renewing. It helps you get up and do it the next day all over again. So, all right. What is one thing you've always dreamed of doing but haven't done yet?
Scuba diving.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I would love
Huh.
to.
Okay. Favorite song to sing at the top of your lungs when you're driving in a car?
Oh, Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
You want to
Meatloaf.
sing it? You want to sing a little now?
Oh, no, you don't want me to.
Okay. I'm just being mean. All right. What is your favorite movie?
You know what? There's a movie called Leap of Faith with Steve Martin
Oh, wow.
where
I love the title. I bet I've seen it.
yeah, he plays a faith healer, like a
Oh,
con
I have
man
seen it.
faith
Yes.
healer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a
It's a
great
funny one.
it's a funny movie. It's really touching. It
Yeah.
makes you think. He does some magic. There's a bit in there where he has kind of a magic background.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like the soundtrack is the greatest like gospel music you've ever heard.
Yeah. I
Gospel
kind of
choir music.
remember it.
So
They're like
yeah.
intense, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a
I
tent
do remember.
revival. It's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's a
Revivals.
great
Yes.
movie. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I have loved talking to you. I hope you'll come back and talk to me again. And
Anytime.
yes,
I'll be in an airport next week.
okay, just let me know. Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Steve. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Ranelle. See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Movie Making with Ranelle Golden. See you next time.
This podcast has been sponsored by Samara Entertainment.